Good morning, seventh grade artists. Today I decided to do something different. I'm actually outside. My kids are still sleeping, so I figured I didn't want to wake them doing all this demonstration. So um, I'm outside doing something different. But you get to work with clay for the next couple days. And I know just be aware that it's not going to be anywhere near what it would be like in the classroom, just because of the accessibility of tools and other materials that we have inside the actual art classroom. So we're going to make it, I know you guys really wanted to work with clay, so we're just going to make it as easy and as best as possible for you guys to work with. Now, if you look on the other screen, I have placed a sheet, and we'll just go over this really quick. This is super important. I know a lot of students really want to work with clay, but the only thing they really know about clay is the fact that it can be molded and it can be shaped and it can dry out. They don't really know the whole full effect of clay itself. So what we're going to do is just go through that sheet, and then I will show you some techniques with the clay, and then I'm going to have you think about what couple options you would like for making out of your clay. So first thing, clay is a three-dimensional material or 3D art form. So we tend to call it either sculpture or pottery. It's ceramics, the art of ceramics. It's not really the art of clay, it's the art of ceramics. So if any of you take high school clay classes, they'll be called ceramics. Let's see, there's either non-functional or functional artworks in clay. So you either have a non-functional piece that serves as a decoration or just to beautify an area. And then there's functional pieces which we can actually use. So vases to hold flowers, flower pots, a cup, a bowl, anything that will function as an actual tool or object. Techniques that we use when working with clay. We have slab. Now, a slab is any time you are taking your clay and you either roll it out or flatten it, and then you're cutting from that slab. I always like to think of a slab as like rolling out cookie dough, and then you actually cut the cookie out. That is what a slab is. You roll the clay out like a slab, flat slab, and then you cut from it and work from there, or you take a shape from there and work from there. That's slab. Coil is when you take your clay and you actually roll out like a snake or a coil and then build up from that or create something from a coil. And then pinch is probably one of the oldest forms of clay technique, and that's when you take your clay and you just pinch it like a pinch pot to make your either clay decoration or your clay object. When you are working with clay, there's two main things that you can do with your clay. You can either add to it by adding more clay, or you can subtract the clay or cut away. So the two words in the middle there, additive, build it up. Subtractive means you're taking away, carving away, cutting away. And most students at a younger level will choose to subtract. They like to carve into the clay and cut away designs. As you get older, I actually encourage you to do more of the additive, just because you're able to be a little bit more creative with that. In the middle there with the star, you can see right here, that is when you're building with your clay, whatever it is that you're going to make, you are slipping and scoring. It's kind of a goofy term, but slip is the water part. So that is why I have a little water dish here for when we get to the constructing. Slip is water, and then scoring is cutting. Anytime you're going to attach something in clay, so like if you have a little piece of clay, like let's say you have a flower and you're going to attach a petal to it, you need to score where you're going to attach, and then you add some water, that is the slip, and then you can attach the pieces. Slip is like glue, and then scoring is just cutting it and kind of roughening up the surface to get them to attach. This clay that you were given, which you should have gotten, and if you did not get this, you got to let me know so I can get it to you. This clay comes from the earth. So if it actually wasn't dug up from the earth, then what we do is we use different materials, sand, water, feldspar, different minerals, and we mix it all up and we make it. So this is from the earth's surface. That means it's 100% natural. It's not like Play-Doh where it's man-made, it's or synthetic. This is natural, which is great because it's always nice to work with something that's just, you know, is just natural and nature made. The downfall to this clay, and listen carefully to this, when you're done with your sculpture or whatever it is that you make out of clay, it's not going to be permanent unless you contact me and we put it in the kiln at the school. You will have the opportunity to have it fired in a kiln, but that is something you need to communicate with me. So if you want your clay sculpture to be permanent, that means it's not going to crumble, it's not going to break, you need to contact me. Otherwise, this clay really is no good because you can build so many cool things from it, but then when it dries and you move it and touch it and whatever, it just crumbles and breaks. You need a kiln. A kiln is a special oven that gets really, really hot to fire the clay to a permanent piece. So again, this clay comes from the earth. It needs to be fired in a kiln at about 2,500 degrees to become permanent. So if you want yours permanent, you need to contact me and we will get it to be in the kiln within the next, 2 weeks. The clay, where you have it right now, the stage that is at, I'm just gonna cover the bottom area right here. Wet clay. Wet clay is what you have right now. It's the squishy, soft clay that can be molded into different things. After a few hours of working with it, it becomes leather hard. Leather hard means it's about half and half. There's about half water in there and it's about half dry. You still can carve into leather hard clay. You can carve into it, but it's getting close to being dry. And then the third one here, bone dry, that is when your clay is completely dry and it's ready to go in the kiln. If your clay is bone dry and you move it too much, it will break. That is when your clay is definitely the most fragile. And then we have bisque clay is after the first firing. So when it comes out of the kiln and it's hard and permanent, that is bisqueware, we call it. And then of course the fifth stage of clay would be if you glaze it or if you paint it. So that's a little bit of information just to kind of get you thinking about your clay. And then the other thing I would like you to just kind of think about is what it is that you're going to make. Two little ideas that I have kind of thought of and just for you, and I know kids like to come up with their own things. Two little ideas. One would be you could make a coil vessel, so like a coiled bowl or a coiled miniature vase. Another thing that you could make, which I think would be pretty cool, is a food sculpture. So you could go in and maybe you have a favorite food and you could try sculpting that out of clay. So either way, again, we're doing this because I know how much you guys love clay and how much you wanted to work with it. And I thought sending it some to you and giving you guys the opportunity to use it would be a good idea. So remember, this is just an informational video for you. I want you after just to think about maybe what you want to make out of clay. And then I will be doing another video here shortly for the construction part. of your piece. Thanks.